Good afternoon. An agency that's been making waves in India is Wavemaker, and we have the global CEO of Wavemaker with us, Toby Jenner. Toby, welcome to Exchange for Media.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Let's get started, Toby. Toby, firstly, you've mentioned that you want Wavemaker should be the most wanted agency in the world. What is the criteria for you to be the most wanted agency in the world, and how do you assess the performance?
Well, I think it's important to just take a step back and explain why we created this idea about being most wanted. And it was really to inspire and enthuse every single one of the team at Wavemaker around the world and in India in particular to recognize that we might not be the biggest,
Hmm.
but that doesn't necessarily mean you can't be the best. And we wanted to capture that essence in a kind of motivating and an exciting way. And that's really how we struck upon this idea of being most wanted. And we'll know when we've done it when we're awarded business without pitching. So it's like the pot of gold at the
Hmm.
end of the rainbow. It's not really something you ever achieve, but how we measure it on a kind of more tangible day-to-day basis is really across four facets of our business. One around people, one around uh, growth, and one around the finances and also the product. So if I just take those one by one. So for our people, I want our people to be positive advocates for working at Wavemaker. So we measure that. We measure on a scale of 1 to 10 how keen people are to work at Wavemaker, to be at Wavemaker and inspired to be at Wavemaker. And currently we score an 8 out of 10. So we have positive advocates on average across the world. Obviously, that has differences in terms of new business. We have a target that we aspire to hit every year. And in terms of the product we deliver our clients, we look at how often it's used by individual teams, by individual markets. And then finally, obviously, we have financial commitments to deliver to WPP and our stakeholders, and that's another key metric. So there are four key metrics, and then clients obviously run throughout each of those four key metrics, and that all ladders up to us and the idea of being most wanted. But ultimately, we achieve that by positively provoking growth for our clients and our people, and it's that idea that we empower our people around the world to have a point of view that really ladders up to hopefully being most wanted.
You mentioned pitching, right? So, with clients demanding more bang for the buck, how is Wavemaker addressing the needs of the client for today as well as tomorrow?
Well, I think most pitches that we are part of, like every agency, have a consistent framework. They want great people, great data, great technology, great strategy. So I think you have to be brilliant at everything to win a pitch. You have to be great commercially as well. So I don't think there's any one element. I think you have to obviously deliver on all fronts. But I do think that people ultimately make the difference. It's the people who use the AI. It's the people that drive the data, the technology. It's people that drive the strategy. It's people that partner and build relationships with our clients. So from a new business perspective, I think it's all of the above.
Taking on from what you said, you mentioned relationship with the client. As a media veteran, how have you seen the relationship between the client and the agency evolve?
I think that the clients that get the best from their agencies build a strong partnership. If I look at the clients that we work with, some in India, the likes of Mondelez, for example, there's a very strong relationship across the whole of Southeast Asia, South Asia, and we work very closely and very collaboratively with Mondelez as much as we do with our creative agency partners. So for me, it's those types of clients, L'Oreal, Colgate, Danone, where we work collaboratively, where the clients will get the most benefit from their agency, and whether that's us or another agency, I think ultimately that's how clients will benefit, drive their business forward, deliver greater ROI, and ultimately, grow their business and their sales.
But the frequency of pitches has really increased compared to the past. Why is this happening? And there's a frequent, clients are also frequently switching over their agencies. Why do you think, believe this is happening?
I don't know if they're more frequent than they used to be. I think there's a tenure of relationship. I think
Mm.
it's 3 years tends to be about the average amount. I think there are commercial pressures, macroeconomic pressures impacting the world economy, and I think a lot of the costs are being passed down to consumers from clients' business. But it's right and proper that they should look across the entire supply chain that they employ and make sure that they're enjoying the most effective, not always the most efficient, but the most effective relationships. And I think that's where you have to get the balance right between cost, efficiencies, and effectiveness of delivery to grow the business. No one's ever going to cut themselves to growth. So I think having a client that gets that balance right is important. I think one way of doing that is pitching. It doesn't always have to be. I'm seeing more closed pitches where we're having conversations with clients about how we can support their business, how their business is evolving, and therefore how our service to them needs to evolve over the lifetime of the relationship.
Now, if there was one idea that you believe will transform the sector going ahead, what is that?
One idea, oh my
Or
God.
multiple. I'll leave it
Uh,
to you.
well, I think everyone's obviously going to be talking about AI in Cannes. I think what's interesting is the kind of connectivity that AI has and the impact of relationship between the global platforms and the publishers and the commercial relationship they have
Okay.
to fuel the learning in AI, and then what that means for news organizations. And I mean proper news organizations with paid for journalists. And I can see a bit of a reset of that supply chain to ensure that there's additional funding for great journalism, for great narratives, for great writing and accurate writing to counterbalance fake news through the lens of AI. So that for me is very exciting as we move forward.
Don't you think that's a tall order in today's age?
I think that you have to be optimistic.
Agree. But other than AI, is there any other technology or sector which you think will probably disrupt the entire business going ahead?
I think we've got enough on our hands with AI at the moment. I think that the work that I'm seeing, uh, funny, we had a session earlier on today, and our global head of applied innovation, Sarah Salter, was presenting along with many of our colleagues. And I think the work that I saw there, work for the Royal Navy, work for L'Oreal, work for Pernod Ricard, I think that is really setting the bar. And I think that can be a real catalyst for growth in a way that we haven't experienced it before.
Now, there's a lot of talk of economic uncertainty. What is the kind of sentiment that you are picking up?
Well, certainly, I think it's mixed. I think there are clearly some macroeconomic challenges. I think everyone's waiting with bated breath. I'm
Correct.
not seeing it come to the fore yet. I'm seeing our forecast for global advertising revenue up 6%. So that for me is good growth. I don't think it's as strong as potentially we may have expected. I mean, India, we've reduced, it was 16% at the end of December. We've reduced that down to 12%, but it's still twice
The
that
global
of the
rate.
global average of six. So I feel good about India. Hopefully, the cricket towards the end of the year will give us an additional bounce. But I think it's waiting and managing costs accordingly, and making sure that we are ready should there be a drop in the economy moving forward. Certainly, interest rates, inflation. I kind of see the green shoots for that slowing down and being managed, and I hope that we can ensure that we drive our business forward on the back of that.
So India will be an outperformer even then. That's good to hear.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, it's one of our top five markets for Wavemaker, and it's got a huge opportunity for growth. I mean, as I said before we came to the interview, we've just won Reckitt, we've just retained Pernod Ricard, so we're growing anyway, but then the natural size and scale of the market is also growing. So we're really well placed there, and as long as we keep producing great work on behalf of our clients, I think we'll be in a good position.
Now, coming to, like you mentioned, India, Team Wavemaker India had a very impressive 2022, both in terms of wins and also award campaigns. So, how do you believe the Indian leadership will maintain the growth momentum going ahead?
Well, I think we have to invest in talent. We've recently brought on a chief creative officer. I prefer the word content officer to help, I think, fuel the way in which the world is going, which is more addressable content, more tailored, bespoke content for our clients. I feel good about the leadership team we've got. We've got a great leader in Ajay. We've got a great Group M leader in terms of PK and a great leader in terms of Srini for WPP. So I think when I look at the leadership in India, the collaboration that I see amongst those three leaders, we're set for a good future.
Any learnings from India which you believe could translate across other markets?
Well, I think India is the most purpose-led market in the world.
Okay.
I think we can certainly learn from that. I think there's a lot of opportunity to take some of that purpose-led work and cascade it around the rest of the world. So for me, purpose is really a critical component of the success we've seen in India around the world. So certainly from an awards perspective. And I think increasingly it's important for our colleagues to feel as though they're rallying behind a common purpose for a client's business that is changing the market that they're operating within. India is a great example.
But how important is it now becoming brands to be purpose led?
I think it's hugely important, but they have to be authentic. You can't just badge. So if I think about Cadbury, the work we did with Shahrukh Khan last year, Cadbury has an essence and a spirit of generosity.
Correct.
So when you have that spirit and that essence and you deliver on it, it works. It doesn't work if you're just badging your brand to uh, a purpose of whatever area it may be. You have to have it at the very DNA of the business. That's why I think uh, Cadbury works. That's why I think something like Colgate works around smiles. There's a brand truth in it. So I think it's very important, but I think it has to be very tailored and it has to be authentic.
How do you think Indian talent can probably contribute more to Wavemaker network globally?
Great question. I think talent from all around the world should be able to enhance Wavemaker globally. If I think about Premjit Sodhi, so Premjit works for our team in India. He's moving to New York. He's going to take on a global role on measurement and effectiveness. So Premjit's a great example of Indian talent coming out and developing in another market and taking on a global role. So I feel very good about the talent in India and the role they can play around the world. And Premjit's just one example of that.
You forgot to mention Sindhuja Rai, who's just
Well,
last
but
week
you
taking
see,
over as
Sindhuj,
Apex CEO.
yeah.
So, what can we expect from her when she steps into the shoes as the APAC head?
Well, Sindhuj is coming from Mondelez, so she's not coming from Wavemaker.
That's true,
I'm
but
super
Indian talent
excited.
again.
Indian talent again, super excited about Sindhuja joining. She's a rare talent. She's a lovely, lovely person. So I think she'll put her arms around our region and connect everyone behind a common goal and ambition that we've spoken about already. And she's got bucket loads of experience. She's the global investment lead for Mondelez. So I think that will be hugely important as clients look to drive commercial efficiency. She's the consumer experience lead in EMEA for Mondelez. So ultimately looking at how full funnel, paid, owned, shared uh, media comes together. And I think she's just a really lovely person, and that was the genesis of obviously our conversation and how we connected.
Finally, your key focus areas looking ahead.
Uh, New business, we have an enormous amount of new business at the moment globally. So just kind of a thank you to all the teams around the world who've supported on that. We can make our business very complicated, but at the end of the day, it's about having great relationships with our existing clients, supporting them in their business challenges, and helping them deliver growth, and winning more clients for the group and for WPP. So it's as simple as that. Not easy to do, but as simple as that to say.
Thank you so much, Toby, for your time. You mentioned that you may not, Wavemaker may not be the biggest agency in India, but you're definitely packing a big punch.
Thank
Thank
you
you
very
so
much.
much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.